Because if you have a broke Chad or a guy that's like, average guy and he makes millions of dollars, they're going to go with the average guy. Right? Is that fair?
Yeah.
And so for you as a single, if you were single, and this is going to be weird because you're not single.
Sure.
What would you look for in a woman? What's the value you're going to look for in a woman?
Yeah, so I think life is a game of attraction. To your point, it's an attraction. The reason that maybe the single Chads out there aren't going and getting high value or pretty women is because they haven't created anything in their own life. Therefore, they're not permeating anything to attract people. It's the same thing in my business. We attract high caliber people. You don't go find girls or go find leaders. You attract them. So point number one, what I would look for in a woman if I was single. I go back and forth when it comes to this, because if you would have asked me this 3-4 years ago, I probably would have said, I want an ambitious girl who's out there working and grinding and, building her own dreams. And I found that attractive. But as I've got a little bit older, it's actually the opposite of what I want. I don't want a girl that's running her own business and, power couple. I don't really want that anymore. I want a girl that has a good head on her shoulders, obviously attractive, which is subjective to certain people, but is very nurturing and very caring and almost a little bit submissive, but at the same time will challenge you and support you if you are out of line or if you need certain things. So I believe the reason that there's a lot of empowerment when it comes to women, and not that it's a bad thing, right? But it's because there's so much weak men out there. So a lot of these women are having to take the roles of men because the weak men aren't stepping up. Therefore, there is almost this masculine feminine crisis because of them trying to fill a role that they shouldn't have to fill.
Now, what do you say if a woman says, well, you just want to control a woman, or you want a weak woman because you don't want a woman that's out there hustling, making money, or successful in business? What do you say to a woman if they say that to you? Now, they don't, but I'm going to say, I'm a woman, because I had this conversation. I want to see what you said. Oh, you don't want a strong woman. You just want a woman that's weak. That's why you don't want a woman out there hustling and making money.
Yeah, I would never say I want a weak woman. I wouldn't use those terms.
Well, that's what the girl's going to say.
Sure, yeah, that's her assumption. Because I would say I believe in traditional dynamics.
Boom.
And I think that not that women can't go chase their dreams and have an awesome relationship with, business and all these things. But at the end of the day, I believe that men's job is to support, to provide, and protect. And if both roles are doing the provide part, then both cups are going to be empty and there's not going to be that dynamic of having that support to refill it. So I would say chances are that if that individual woman is not happy with that statement or challenging you, she is probably not doing the best as her counterpart to support her husband.
See, and I want to tell everybody, this is time and time again. The men I have on here, I call them 7 figures, right? The 7-figure men that are multimillionaires, very successful. Doesn't seem like you're obviously not a controlling person. You're a nice guy, got a good demeanor, right? Very, very easy to get along with. We don't want to control women, and I think the reason I see all these podcasts, Fresh and Fit, I see all these successful podcasts. They bring some guys on there too. But I wanted to bring men on here too, not just women, because guys are like, oh, bring women, just women. I want women to see what a successful man looks like and acts like and what they want. Because women don't know what men want. They think they know, and that's why they dress the way they dress. They act provocative. They do certain things. It's like that's going to lead you to one thing, sex, not longevity in a relationship. So I'm glad you said that, because for me, it was the same thing. I shifted, right? Because before it's like, oh, I want this girl to make all this money. But so my definition of a strong-headed woman, I say any woman can be a strong-headed woman, but it's harder to be a woman of strength. Do you, in your relationship, do you believe it's 50-50 or do you believe you lead?
I lead.
Okay, and she follows?
Yes.
And initially, was that an issue? Because you both started at the bottom and now you're here, like Drake said. Was that hard at the beginning?
No, I don't think so. Because I made it very clear, not just said it, but by my actions, the life that I wanted to build for myself, and then obviously eventually for her as well, as we started getting more serious. And if it was up to her, she probably wouldn't be working right now. We've had the conversation, hey, as soon as we have a baby, you're good. You don't have to work. But I also, at the same time, I like the fact that she works, because not necessarily the money part, but it's very important for girls to have, ladies, to have their own identity as well. And when the woman is so dependent on the man, she doesn't have her own friends, she doesn't have her own life, she doesn't have her own things going on, then you become codependent, and that's not a healthy relationship either.
Okay, but don't you believe in a relationship? There's no independence, right? Because you can't be independent and be in a relationship.
Correct.
You're codependent to a point. I'm not saying 100%, but hear me out. My philosophy is like, I depend on my girl to be the nurturer, supporter. She cooks, cleans, takes care of the house. And then she relies on me to take care of the bills, be the provider, the protector. So there's a little bit of codependency there, right? I hear what you're saying. Don't you agree with that? But I know what you're saying. You don't want an idle mind. You want her to do something, be active. When you have a child, she's going to be the CEO of the house, full-time mom. That's a hard job.
Totally.
Now, to me, and that's why I praise women. If you don't want to be a full-time mom because it's too tough. It's easier to go get a job and then hand your baby off and have somebody else raise your baby. You spend $2,500 a month and then get it indoctrinated into a false narrative that's going on right now. So don't you believe there's a little bit of codependency now? I mean, she relies on you, you rely on her, right? You
100%.
But you both could go your separate ways.
Yes. And I agree with you 100%. To run an efficient household and to raise a kid, for sure, it takes a village, and it takes your partner. Just like any business relationship or just like any relationship, there's strengths and weaknesses that both parties need to have, and they're there to support each other and help themselves. I think where, at least for me, in our relationship, is when her life becomes completely about my life, and all we talk about is what I'm doing or my business or my friends or all of that, then she loses a little bit of her own identity in that. So I think in order to create a successful household, there needs to be the essence of codependent on each other. But I think if she leans too much into my life and what I'm doing, she loses a little bit of that power and enthusiasm in herself.
100%. Couple more things. I know we got to shut down here soon. Who is, if you could have any guest on your podcast, who would it be? Besides me. No, I'm just kidding. No, who would it be? Like, if you could, it could be like a Ben Shapiro, a Donald Trump, Joe Biden, a Joe Rogan, anybody that's alive. Who would you choose if you could have a guest on your podcast? Who would it be?
Probably, I don't know if you know this person, but Ed Milet.
Ed Milet, no, I'm not sure if I recall who that is.
Ed Milet, he's, kind of what I desire to be, worth 600-700 million, probably close to a billionaire, but just the way that he communicates, his public speaking ability, he's out there, traveling the world, making, selling out arenas of hundreds of thousands of people.
Wow.
He's a big deal. Private jet, whole 9 yards, but he's made such a big impact in my life. His content, through the ways of being, that I feel like it would be awesome to spend an hour with him.
Nice.